The Ceylon Chamber of Commerce has requested the government to provide an enhanced level of transparency with respect to the proposed status of Forces Agreement and the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Agreement and their potential consequences.
Issuing a media release expressing concern with regard to the increasing levels of speculation surrounding these proposed agreements, the Chamber requests the government to clarify the exact position with regard to the current status of the negotiations and/or the execution of these agreements. The release added, while it is inevitable that differences in opinion will prevail, compliance with due process combined with a transparent process encompassing stakeholder consultation will ensure that national interest is protected. According to Non-Cabinet Minister of Economic Reforms and Public Distribution Dr. Harsha De Silva, the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Agreement will not have any negative impact on Sri Lanka. He made this statement through his Twitter account yesterday while posting a photograph with US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Elena B. Teplitz. The Twitter post adds that despite several attempts to explain facts of the MCC agreement to the President, the non-cabinet minister failed to do so for the past 2-month period. Dr. Harsha De Silva further added that the President should understand the constraints to the development of this country. In a tweet, the non-cabinet minister also stated that MCC agreement was developed by Ricardo Hausmann and a group at the University of Harvard, along with an economics team, to address constraints to growth, dictating what the program should be. Dr. De Silva goes on to say that none of those involved in this regard were invited for a meeting with the President. A media briefing organized by the non-cabinet minister to explain the MCC agreement was subsequently cancelled.
If Minister Harsha De Silva connected with the general public in a much broader manner, this would not happen to him. If he connects with the rural communities and the locals in villages, this would not happen to him. We will take legal action against the MCC agreement and its content. After we take this matter to courts, we will convene a media briefing and explain further in this regard. The SOFA agreement was signed in 1994 when Madam Chandrika Bandaranayake served as the president. Our government has not amended this agreement or signed any other SOFA agreement. However, we are currently discussing the matter. There was a legal issue in this regard. It was requested that if a US citizen commits any wrongdoing in Sri Lanka, legal action should be taken in the US. We rejected this. Who signed the AXA agreement in the past? It was Gotabaya Rajapaksa. However, when this agreement was signed then, there was no one to speak against it. The Millennium Challenge Cooperation Agreement is a program that will benefit the country. We will receive financial aid amounting to $480 million for a road development and a property reforms program.
Three agreements linked with the USA, namely the SOFA, AXA and Millennium Challenge Cooperation, have been the topic of discussion across the country in the recent past. It is alleged that the Status of Forces Agreement, or the SOFA, includes the provision relating to immunity being provided to foreign servicemen on Sri Lankan soil. The US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Elena B. Teplitz, recently termed this agreement as the Visiting Forces Agreement, or the VFA. However, the people of this country continue to raise concerns over the suspicion that US forces will be permitted to enter Sri Lanka. The Millennium Challenge Corporation of the US government approved a 5-year grant of $480 million to Sri Lanka to develop the road network in the country and for property legal reforms. Critics claim that the prime objective of this agreement is to build an economic corridor with a road network connecting the Trincomalee harbour with the Colombo port. They claim that the SOFA agreement will give access to US forces to enter Sri Lanka and use the Trincomalee harbour for logistics purposes. The Acquisition and Cross-Service Agreement, more commonly known as the AXA Agreement, is a bilateral agreement that allows the US forces to exchange supplies and services. It was this agreement that allowed the transportation of supplies to a US warship docked in the far seas from the US aircraft parked at the Bandaranayake International Airport. The AXA Agreement was first signed in 2007 and was subsequently revised in 2017. Senior journalist Iqbal Attas said that the signing process of the agreement in 2017 was a matter for concern.
And President Sirisena had to send in a cabinet memorandum on the 30th of June 2017. Now what's very important about this particular fact is that the singular version of the cabinet memorandum. Now the cabinet memorandum itself, most of the singular is the official language in Sri Lanka, and the cabinet memorandum that was forwarded by President Sirisena in Sinhalese was only 8 pages. as against 83 pages of the agreement that was submitted in English.
Now this is the
8 pages,
eight
the
pages.
Sinhala version. that
Sinhala
was
version, 8 pages. This was shown to the cabinet.
Yes, together with the other one which was in English.
Yes.
But as is well known, most of the ministers read the Sinhala version and they
Yeah.
never had
And this is
access.
the 83 page.
83 page.
This is the real thing.
That's the real thing,
So this is in English, and most of the people cannot read this.
indeed. And we know there have been a number of other instances where, voluminous cabinet memoranda usually gets passed because some ministers don't take the trouble to read them.
Can it still be reiterated that the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Agreement, the SOFA Agreement and the AXA Agreement will not permit the entrance of foreign forces to Sri Lanka and facilitate the exchange of supplies and services?